Former Chief of U.S. Central Command, General Anthony Zinni. Thank you for joining us this morning, General.
Good to be with you, Sandra.
So we're told that this transcript will be released, these 911 calls between the police and this savage inside that nightclub that evening. And we're told that they're going to be editing out some of the transcripts, and including his pledge of allegiance to ISIS. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that the heart of this problem is the fact that we allow ISIS to exist. You know, we possess the military power, not only us, our NATO allies, regional powers that would require our leadership to take them out. We have allowed ISIS to exist and occupy territory for over 2 years. As a result of that, they've gained resources by robbery, extortion, oil smuggling, sale of antiquities, you name it. That sanctuary has given them the ability not only to plan and execute attacks like in Paris and Brussels, but to inspire others. It's given them credibility. And we have this policy of slow attrition and chipping away at the edges, and it causes fanatics like this Mateen fellow in Orlando to conduct these atrocious acts and be inspired. And it's going to continue unless we stand up to the fact that we have to militarily take them out. And it means boots on the ground.
And we got that chilling, chilling reaction from the CIA director, John Brennan. He delivered a warning, General, on the Islamic State's growing influence. Brennan's warning coming in contrast to President Obama, who has continued to present an optimistic assessment of this war on terror. I want you to listen to this, and we'll get your reaction on the other side.
ISIL's ranks are shrinking as well. Their morale is sinking.
The numbers of ISIL fighters now far exceeds what al-Qaeda had at its height.
Beyond Syria and Iraq, ISIL's also losing ground in Libya.
The branch in Libya is probably the most developed and the most dangerous.
It's quite clear that we're getting mixed messages, General. What do you make of that?
Well, my hat's off to John Brennan. I think our intelligence community has to tell it like it is, based on the hard, cold analysis that they do. This isn't a time for Pollyannish approaches and trying to make a case that's not substantiated by the intelligence. ISIS continues to be a major threat, and one, according to our intelligence, that's growing. It's a tumor. It's a cancer that's metastasizing, and we refuse to excise this tumor. That's what I can't understand. How many Orlando and San Bernardino and Paris and Brussels attacks can we stand?
And Congressman McCall said about this terrorist, he said, we know he was close or attended the same mosque with the suicide bomber in Syria out of Florida. General, I would ask you, this becoming such a huge political issue now, and it being an election year, Donald Trump has called for profiling. Says he doesn't want to do it, but it's common sense. What do you make of that, to include that on this fight on terror?
Oh, we have to be very careful with this. We should not brand and generalize and profile all Muslims. The vast majority of Muslims reject this kind of extremist activity. And as a matter of fact, they've been victims of it more so than any other group. Many of our allies are Muslims. I've fought side by side with Muslim allies and their forces. We have to understand that this very small percentage of extremists that have a radical view of their religious beliefs are the ones we should all focus on and we should partner to remove.
Is there, and I'm trying not to make this too political, but it being an election, we've heard the strategy that former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has laid out if she were elected president to fight this global war on terror. And then we've heard Donald Trump, and he made a very detailed foreign policy speech in recent weeks. Where does the military stand on their support for President Obama and for the incoming presidents, the candidates that we have today?
Well, you know, I won't speak for the active duty military. I can speak for myself. My advice would be, if I were still in the military, that we have to take serious military action. This whole strategy of slow attrition using airstrikes and special operations forces has not done in ISIS in 2 years. John Brennan's assessment tells you that, you know, we have not made the progress we should have been making. And I think it comes to a point where are you going to accept casualties? Sure, if you use boots on the ground, there will be casualties. They won't be as great if you use overwhelming force, as we learned in the Desert Storm and Desert Shield. But we're going to continue to take civilian casualties. The hundreds and the tens of even possibly thousands that we could suffer. When does that come to the point where we decide we need to take decisive action? What we lack is that decisiveness. And I think a lot of this goes back to the last administration, too. It's not just the Obama administration, although their policies have been flawed. I think then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton embraced Maliki. That was part of a huge mistake in addition to withdrawing our forces that added to this. But you can go back to the previous administration where the root causes in the creation of ISIS on poor military judgment, a decision to go into Iraq, and if we did not to do it with the overwhelming force we did back in the previous Bush administration when we executed Desert Storm and Desert Shield.
All right, General, we've got to leave it there, but quickly, because the conversation, when you mentioned the need for U.S. ground troops over there, what kind of number are you talking about? How many?
Well, first of all, this is not a U.S.-only mission. You know, if Paris is attacked and Brussels is attacked and London is attacked, this is an attack on one's attack on all. Article 5 of NATO. Also, I know that the Gulf allies that we have there would rally behind American leadership. So this doesn't require a lot on our part. There's a burden-sharing requirement that, you know, I would think that our ground force participation could be several brigades at most. But we are going to have to provide the wherewithal for the leadership, the communications, the command and control, the intelligence, the fire support, et cetera.
All right, General Anthony Zinni, so good of you to be here this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra.